Assalamu alaikum everyone. In this session, we are going to talk about fault tree analysis. If you can see on the screen here, fault tree analysis basically comes in here. The fault tree analysis right under the analysis and identification phase of root cause analysis process. Earlier, we talked about failure mode effect and analysis. And that is where the criticality of wrong occurrences is also investigated. Now we are here. In this session, we are going to talk about fault tree analysis. And since we have already talked about this effect under investigating, and now we are going to do the analysis of that. So the occurrence that has led to the failure, we are going to carry out its analysis. Fault tree analysis, abbreviated as FTA, is a risk-based path depicted through fault tree analysis. It's the primary concern for finding the root cause of the unwanted event. Moreover, it also helps the problem solver or the supply chain manager to look for events leading to the root cause of the base level event, that is the prime or the ground zero level of occurrence of abnormality or accident or failure or any untoward uh, outcome or the event. As opposed to the failure mode effect analysis, fault tree analysis goes in the reverse order. Here it starts from the product failure and we go backtracking to the part failure. Whereas under failure mode effect analysis, we investigate the part failure and move towards the product failure. But here under fault tree analysis, we focus on the product itself that is under observation, and suddenly let's say it stops performing. So then we deep dive into finding out the reason why, what has caused it to stop performing, and we try to identify any that is non-functioning or malfunctioning part over there that is acting up. So here in this slide, the basis for fault tree analysis in terms of how we actually define it. It is a kind of logic diagram for analyzing the causes of system failure, looking at the big picture, the product itself first, and then the part later. So that is basically a deductive sort of an approach, basically looking at the big picture first and then the smaller picture. Here we also look at the logical flows. The structure is shown from up to down, from top to bottom on a vertical axis. Analytical units. Under that, the primary analytical unit is fault tree based on OR, and the gate here means the barriers which are about to stop that event from happening. But once those barriers are, once they crash, they break down, then the untoward event occurs. So the primary analytical units in fault tree are OR, AND, gates, basic events, intermediate event, underdeveloped event, and transfer event. We'll talk about it in a bit. Analytical methodology. The analytical methodology for fault tree analysis is to prevent loss prevention. Practical uses. Its practical uses include mostly science-related subjects such as aerospace, software engineering, energy, pharmaceutical analysis, and chemical process. Symbols of fault tree analysis: basic event, external event, underdeveloped, conditioning, and intermediate events. So, so here for drawing a fault tree diagram, you can use logic gates and symbols along with specific fault tree analysis shapes. The first failure event is a circle. That's the point to start from. The house-like symbol describes the external event. This event is either expected to occur or average, which is meaning that normally happens. An underdeveloped event gets indicated with a symbol that does not need any further investigation or breakdown or analysis because of a lack of information. Okay, so now here in the slide, the conditioning event, I'm here, the second last line is the restriction, especially on the logic gate. What it actually means is that if this event happens, then the next event will occur. Intermediate event, in this event, there are detailed descriptions of events and they are above a primary event or the basic event. And the basic event is where the incident occurs, maybe an accident, an emergency, a fire, a disruption, or anything else like that. All right, so in this slide, as you can see, a restriction on an event gets represented through a conditioning event. Below are different conditioning symbols. Those conditioning symbols are called gates: OR gate, AND gate, exclusive OR gate, priority AND gate, inhibit gate. OR gate event occurs when at least one of the event happens. AND gate happens if all conditions of input meet. This event occurs. For example, for a fire to occur, oxygen has to be there for a fire to occur, right? And a spark has to be there. A carbon dioxide has to be there. So only then a fire will occur. Exclusive or gate, it's opposite to the priority AND gate. The event occurs after one condition meets and not all. Okay, either of the conditions or any of the conditions. Priority gate, priority AND gate is a restricted scenario where the event occurs only after the fulfillment of certain conditions. And inhibit gate, this event will occur after happening of all events described in a conditional event. So again, gate denotes the conditioning event, basically, meaning the conducive events that further leads to a next event or a intermediate event or a subsequent event. So here is an example that we have discussed here. First, I want you to look at this accident model: chain of failure events. Relay spring fails, that leads to relay contacts fail closed, and then that leads to excessive current provided. Basically, it's talking about circuit, right? So it occurs from here, and here's the final outcome. So that would probably lead to some excessive current, or maybe it will become too much hot, or maybe it will melt because of heat, or anything else for that matter. So this is where we talk about here. That's the final event, right? Basically. And this is an example of a fault tree, right? So now, for this event to occur, we have to start from the bottom over here. Event B and event C have been named to just for identification purposes. Relay contacts overheat and relay spring fails. So any of these two events occur, that would lead to relay contacts fail closed. Okay, this event over here. Any of these events, if they occur, it would lead to this outcome basically, because that's why we have put it here, the symbol OR gate. It's not an AND gate, it's just OR gate, right? Okay, so now here you look at this. If this event occurs and this event A, circuit breaker fails close, if they both occurs, that would lead to the excessive current provided. If any of these don't occur, then this event will not happen. Why? Because this is where the condition is that this as well as this both have to occur. So as a result, this event will occur, which would be the final basic primary event. So that's how we apply the fault tree analysis model to find out where to look for any potential problem. So if we look at the product itself over here and it's getting heated, so we start from here to find out the reason why. So we go backwards from the product towards the components. And we know for that purpose that for this event to happen, these are the components, and for these components to malfunction, here in this case, any of these can go awry or malfunction, and here both of them should malfunction for this event to happen. So in our analysis, if this event has already occurred, then we can safely conclude that these two components are faulty ones, and any of these ones would be faulty, or both, as the case may be. Now here is another example. This is where we talk about an accident that has taken place. This is the car hits object, right? And now, how did this event occur? For that, we have applied the fault tree analysis, and these are the possible outcomes. The first one, that is where the independent event that would occur is object just around the corner. Driver is not in his conscience, is unconscious in a way. Driver is asleep, or driver going too fast, or brakes are weak. So any of these events, either of any of these would lead to driver does not see object. And here, either of these events, either this or that, would lead to car fails to brake or stop itself. And both events, if they do occur, that would lead to this car colliding with an object. All right, now let's move on to the next one. This is where, as a supply chain manager, you look at business processes. And if you look here, you would identify that a business failure occurs. Why? Because of certain events, right? So let's backtrack them, and we identify the individual events. Independent events might be economy, price, product appeal, population, maybe, and their demographic, right? And that, when they occur, as a result, they further lead to a joint effect. Here you see here the people not buying. If any of these things happen, people will not buy, right? If any of these, either of any of these out of these two events, any of the events occur, then the company will face marketing issues, right? And here, misappropriation of funds and administrative or staff costs too high, any of these things would lead to this fiscal insolvency, that you will face cash liquidity problems. And here, low availability of product, low inventory, any of these would lead to lack of goods. And for any of these events to occur, that would lead to a business failure. That's how we apply the fault tree analysis for our processes as well. So from there, you can identify your different suppliers and see if there's a disruption happening, what could be the reason, and how would you identify, let's say, in the event of COVID-19, and how it would have impacted our business if we were in that situation, and what events would have been here occurring that uh, could lead to that business failure eventually. So with that, we conclude our session for this fault tree analysis. And in the next session, we're going to talk about event tree analysis. So with that, thank you very much.